Hey, Guru Nation, welcome back to the Clinical Trials Guru. Thank you to everyone watching on YouTube. This is also going to go on the podcast, Random Musings from the Clinical Trials Guru. This will be episode 122. It's going on Periscope as well, because I've been ignoring Periscope, but going to try to use it a little bit more this year. And so I've got Rust Felix. Rust is from Slope, and you can find them at slope.io. Rust, I've been following him on Twitter for the last couple years. You guys are a startup, right? Slope is a startup.
Yeah, we're a startup. We focus on what we call the clinical supply chain. So anything that sites need, lab kits, bulk supplies, thermal shippers, drugs, we implement solutions that help make sure that sites always have what they need when they need it.
Okay. So what made you, and is this the first, I guess, pain point that Slope is addressing? Or have you guys worked on other? Because since I've been following you guys, it seems like this is what you've been focused on.
Yeah, we've been solidly focused on really the issue that sites have, making sure that they always have supplies on hand for patient visits. And this business actually came out of another business that my brother and I had that did e-commerce logistics with all sorts of fancy algorithms. And we got really good at being able to predict what products were going to be sold at a particular time. And, I had a family member who worked for a CRO. They were focused on oncology, and they had over 100 sites. Those sites had a lot of patients. Those patients had visits. The CRO was actually leased had employees who were sending bulk supplies. So they had the idea, use our technology we're using in e-commerce, apply it to healthcare. We kind of rebuilt everything with the clinical trial metaphor, and it's
Okay.
taken off.
Yeah, so I can relate to this pain point. I don't coordinate anymore, but I started out as a coordinator, and gosh, I've probably been removed from that position for the last 7 or 8 years. But when I was doing it, I did notice, when I needed the lab kit, it wasn't there, and when I don't need
Right.
them, I got plenty. Like I got more
Right.
than I know what to do with. And then what makes it tricky is they expire, and each kit
Right.
expires like on a different date. So you've got to remember, okay, I only have like 3 screening kits left. 2 of them expire next week, and one of them expires like in a month. And so, who can remember all that when you've got about 60 patients, and this is just for one study? Then, if when you're a coordinator, you're most likely managing 3 or 4 studies, right? So, or sometimes more. I know coordinators that are managing like 10 or 12 studies, and the lab kits expire. First of all, why should lab kits expire? I think that there's a little overkill there. I understand it's research and it has to be, the results have to be trusted and valid, but I feel like they expire way too quickly.
Well, there's actually two types of lab kits: ones that expire and ones that don't. And the ones is driven by the components. So, we do a lot of oncology trials, use a lot of different types of tubes. Sometimes those tubes might only have 6 months, 9 months of dating. And so that's what drives the expiration. But you're right, tracking the expiration is a big, big pain point. And what happens a lot, if you're a coordinator and you've got multiple trials and you're, running in between patient visits, you are kind of forced to be an inventory, and you've got a lot more important things to do. So I've seen everything, spread sticky notes to kind of the hope and pray system where people check, 2 days before it. And yet the problem that we're addressing is giving the sites a voice and providing a platform that allows, the sponsors and the labs and CROs to understand how much a site is consuming so that they're not oversupplying. Because that's another really big problem is there's not a lot of specificity in
Mm-hmm.
the amount of lab kits that are sent. And if you're running like 5 trials and each of the central labs is oversupplying you with lab kits, I mean, I've seen people store lab kits in janitor closets, under
Yep.
desks,
Yeah.
because just there's not enough room. So our goal is to be able to develop trends and information based upon lab kit consumption, feed that information up the food chain, and so you can really make it so you're getting exactly what you need. I call it the Goldilocks problem. You don't send enough lab kits, and you have a patient, but you can't collect the specimen. You send too many lab kits, and things are expiring. It's hard to track. And you want that to be just right, and that's
Yeah.
actually a thing to do without a platform or system to track that for you.
Yeah, one of the hacks I did when as a coordinator, and sites out there can try, I'm sure they have. When you run out of a kit, what you can do is use the early term visit withdrawal kit, because it has every test on there. And then what you can do is send it out and cross out the visit, and hopefully the lab doesn't screw it up. And that's another thing, you're probably going to get queried. But that's another hack. But that's not, that's a rudimentary way of doing it, and you're offering a more elegant solution here.
Yeah, and an elegant solution that's free, because
Free. So let's talk about
yeah,
that. So free for the
okay,
sites.
free for the sites.
Okay.
I have personally talked to people at 140 sites, and I've interviewed countless monitors and coordinators, and we used their feedback really design a platform and a system that we're going through, alpha and beta testing right now. Um, but design a system for them and their needs. They're the boots on the ground of clinical research. Without the sites and the people at the sites, your trial's not going to function. And I really feel like those people are forgotten and their needs are forgotten. And there's just an assumption that, hey, they signed the contract, this is what they've got to do. So, we are going to use the data from the sites, and we're going to push that to the sponsors and the CROs and the labs who can afford to pay for it.
Hmm.
But I don't think it makes sense to charge a site to use the service and the software.
So we're gonna get in. I want to get into a little bit of the technology behind what
Okay.
you're doing and how you. I'm assuming you're using algorithms to track and predict, um, and that could get expensive. Now, for site, so one of the pain points, a lot of the sites watching may be research naive or new, and they may be thinking, "Hey, that's the least of my concerns is worrying about lab kits. Like I barely know how to follow the protocol." Well, it's important because if you inadvertently draw a patient's lab using an expired kit, that's a deviation. And if you keep doing it, that's going to call for a kappa plan, and you may even get put on a screening hold, and then you're going to get audited, and they're going to look at your SOP for lab kit inventory, and if you're like most sites, you probably don't have one, or you have something like very vague, or even worse, something very detailed that you're not following. So now it shows that you're not following your own SOP. All bad stuff. You don't want any of
Yeah.
this. And then, God forbid, the FDA comes because they're not looking to find solutions like a sponsor is when they audit. They're looking to find any issues and note those issues. That's their job. So this this seemingly trivial matter can actually be something that can cause you to lose a study and even trigger audits. So not something to necessarily dismiss as saying, hey, it's not important, because it actually is. And if this is a free product or a free service for sites, I'm all for it. So let's say I'm a site and I have a couple studies, and I tell my sponsor, hey, I want to use Slope to track my lab kits. Like, you know, some of the objections are going to be, well, what is slope? You know, unless they know you, and we'll get into that. You guys is gaining market share in the industry,
Right.
but then they're going to say, well, okay, fine, you can use them, and then we're going to say, well, you need to pay for it, right? So how does
Well,
that work?
that's a great question, and so it's important to state this. You can use the free site app with or without a sponsor.
Aha,
Uh,
the site
if you
app.
use it, right, if you use it with a sponsor or lab or a CRO, um, we can automate some of the bit more and kind of make your life a little bit easier. We're not going to make it a closed system. So if you can use the Slope app on every one of your trials, ones where we're not working with, the biopharma side of the equation, you have to do a little bit more work. But then at the same time, you should be doing that work already. And, like I said before, there's a lot of different ways I've seen that people track it. And what
Yeah.
we're trying to do is, this is a very SOP centric industry, workflows and processes. We're really coming up with the first coordinator friendly process for tracking your kits.
Fantastic. So the app, when is the app supposed to be released? I know you have a sign up sheet or a sign up website. We're gonna put the links underneath this video. Um, but when do you think that's out, or is it out now? Can I get it?
So we're launching officially at the ACRP conference in late April. We're
Wow.
going to have a booth there, so come by and say hello to me. And we got a waiting list right now. The people that sign up for the waiting list are going to be able to play with it before anybody else. Um, that's kind of that's what you get for giving me your email address. Is you get a chance to play with it and even steer
Hmm.
the direction. So.
This is a timely product. I'm gonna sign up. So I didn't realize that with the app, because see, my biggest pain point was, well, I don't want to have to negotiate with the sponsors. I'm already negotiating my own budget
Right.
with them, and
Right.
I don't want to give them more reason to say, well, we're giving you this concession now, when it's something that I don't think I necessarily might want or I do need, but the other things are more important. But if this is a free app and you can do it yourself, right, and then sponsors see that it works, they're going to have no problem putting this into their studies because it's reducing deviations, right? Which is very important because if you
Hmm.
draw labs on an expired lab kit, guess what? Those results are not good for the FDA.
Right.
They're unusable and a waste of money.
And we're building the app too, like I said before, with feedback from lots and lots of coordinators and monitors. Everyone does things a little bit differently. And so what we're trying to do is have a standard process, but then give flexibility. Because I know some coordinators that every single lab kit has got to be checked out on a spreadsheet with a timestamp, and the person at the site who used that kit. You have other people that's like, hey, I just want to track expirations. So
Yep.
the entire concept is you create a workspace, and that can be a trial or a project. You add kits to that workspace. You'll be able to define the contents of those kits if you get some people that really want to get that detailed. You can do things that we call locations. So some sites don't have a lot of space, so you might have 3 or 4 supply closets. You can say 5 of these kits are over here, 10 are over here. You can assign expiration dates to it. Our
Wow.
goal is to allow you to get as granular as you want to get, but at the same time, if you just want to track expiration dates, that works well too. So.
This is fantastic. Who came up with this idea, Rust?
My brother and I, a lot of this was born out of e-commerce. And, e-commerce is a industry where margins are so thin, you can't have a lot of slop.
Hmm.
And I think that clinical research has historically had a lot more wiggle room in it. Sponsors to get you a kit, they have no problem spending $150 to overnight you, 3 lab
Wow.
kits. So there's a lot of waste and all of
I've been
that.
there. I've been there.
Yeah.
I'm just
So
thinking now, if you're a CRA and because I'm also a CRA, I do very small gigs here and there, mainly to help me with my CRO, which I actually want to use for that as well. But if you're a CRA and you have a site where this is an issue, even if it's just an issue once, or even if you notice that the coordinator is overworked and there's a potential for using an expired lab kit, because again, that's bottom of the totem pole when it comes to like priorities for a site. Like lab
Right.
kits, this is like one of the last things you think of, but it's always those things that come back and bite you, right? So if you're a CRA and this is free, you should encourage your sites to use it.
Yeah, and then
Um,
the other thing too, if you're a CRA, you can, your sites can give you access to their account so you can see what's going on with the lab kits.
so you can then
Because
manage it. Okay.
yeah, visibility and collaboration are at the core of our platform because that's another thing
Fantastic.
right now. I mean, you have some sites where you've got 4 or 5 people sharing the burden. All of those people should be able to see what's going on and invite outside parties if they need to.
You have no idea how many times I last coordinated in 2013. You have no idea how many times my monitors would call me and ask me to go take the phone and go count with them how many kits we have and then the expiration dates because they were worried about kits expiring, which
Right.
they're doing their job. They're supposed to be on top of it. But me, I had like 10,000 other things to do. Who has
Right.
time to go do that, right? So this removes that completely. Even if your monitor doesn't know about it, if you're a site and you know about it, you tell your CRA, nope, I don't have time for this. What I'm going to do is give you access to this platform. We actually track our lab kits. And they're going to be impressed. They're going to be like, whoa, you do? Yes, we
Right.
do. I'm going to give you access to it, and you can go count them yourself because I don't have time for that.
Yeah, it's
Fantastic.
pretty awesome. We're really excited about it, and the initial feedback from the sites that are testing it right now has been fantastic. So I think this
Wow.
is really scratching an itch that sites have. Like you said, lab kits are at the bottom of the totem pole, but at the same time, the specimens that the lab kits are collecting
Mm-hmm.
are absolutely crucial to testing the efficacy
Yeah.
of what you're looking at.
Now,
So it's like this weird imbalance.
how does it work when, let's say I get the app, I log in all my kits, right? Let's say I log all my kits, but I have a screening the next day. So I take one of those kits. How does Slope know that I took one of those kits and used it?
So they're like going back to what I said before, different sites have different ways of tracking stuff. We've seen some sites that every couple days will do like a kit inventory count to see how many they've got. You've got other sites that every single time they grab a kit from a supply closet, their SOPs say that they have to check that out of a spreadsheet. So our system is really flexible when it comes to how you want to track that consumption. And if you get a sponsor or a CRO who wants to do it, we've even done it before where we integrate with the EDC and we can use that patient date to automatically indicate a consumption. So it's, you can
Smart.
get, yeah, you can get as far into it as you want to, but, you know, just from a daily standpoint, just track it. When you have a patient visit, all you have to do is you can bring it up on your phone or your computer. Hey, I used this kit. And then the other interesting thing too is all of this information, once you're all set up and you're tracking your kits, and which ones you're using, we're able to use our algorithms to understand how many you're using like every week or every month. So when you go to reorder, you can say, "Hey, I really only need 5 of these kits. Don't send me 20 like you normally do." And so those metrics and those forecasts let you help your site.
Is there is that built into the app, the metrics or the analytics behind it? Like
Yep,
the
all of that is gonna be free with the site app. And so what we do on the other side, the biopharma side, is we take all of that information. We can pass that directly to like the PMs at the lab who are doing the reorders. We can automatically send notifications to third-party kitting companies. So we do a lot of really interesting stuff on that side. But for the sites, we wanted to give them as much of our technology baked in as possible.
Remove as much friction as you can. I mean, this is the only thing better than this would be like having a chip in each kit and then it does it on its own. But I'm sure that's coming. You guys are working on something.
Yeah, we've got a little lab where we're playing with all sorts of different ways of doing stuff with RFIDs
Is
and
that
and
expensive?
barcodes.
Are those
Yeah,
expensive?
yeah. Right now, the expense of the RFID tags is not bad. It's what you have to have at a site to track consumption.
Hmm.
But we're coming up with a lot of interesting ways to extend the capabilities of the site app. Can't really say anything right now, but
Yeah,
to drive you closer to as automated as you can get. So.
that's good. I mean, that's another thing I would want to hear from a company. If I'm going to invest my time and changing my SOPs for a company, right? Like, in the SOPs we say we use Slope to track kits. I want to know that you guys are working on things to further reduce friction as technology evolves, and so it's good to know that you were already working on those things.
Yep.
And it's probably a safe bet to use Slope as your kit management, kit inventory management tool, because the other alternative is Excel, and
Right.
you don't get the analytics with Excel. You don't get access to your CRA. It's just not as easy, right? So
It's not as easy.
yeah, I think this is a really good idea. Um, we went through some of the pain points. I definitely want to have you come back on um, next month, and we're going to talk about more site pain points when it comes to lab kits and deviations that you can avoid, and how to. Then we can get more into some of the technology behind Slope as well. I'd be
I'd
interested
be
in that.
more than happy, and probably by the next time we speak next month, I'll have some things I can share, some screenshots, and perhaps some walkthroughs of what it's looking like. So
That'd be fantastic. So the app's not available yet. This is February 22nd, 2018, but you want to be on the waiting list. So I'll have the link to slope.io underneath this video. I'll have the actual link to their app landing page. And you can sign up and be notified. What's the benefit of signing up? Notification that when it's out?
so you get a notification when it's out, and then people that sign up are going to get early access. Our official RP conference in late April, but it's going to be done before that. You can get in and play with it before anyone else. So.
Excellent. I'm signing up for sure. I urge you sites out there to do the same. Small, medium, large size sites. I mean, this is free. Why not do it and just integrate it into your SOP if you like it, right? So, and if it works for you. Uh, Thank you, Rust. I appreciate it. We'll be in touch shortly. Looking forward
Sounds good.
to following this. I always like when I see innovators in this industry, and this is nothing that that would garner any headlines like risk-based monitoring and artificial intelligence and blockchain, which is like all the rage now. But this is a practical problem that can be
Hmm.
solved at every site. I mean, that's nothing to
Yep.
sneeze at. This is like a real problem. Sites, when it comes to AI and risk-based monitoring and blockchain, that's not a practical problem. Now, that's something interesting to think about, and sponsors and higher ups at the CROs can spend their time thinking about those things. But for you as a site, when you've got screening visits and randomizations, this is more important for you.
I agree. Awesome. Well, thanks for your time, Dan. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Rust, and thank you everyone for watching, and we'll catch you all later. Bye bye.